So this month has all been about a kinship of faiths, and today's talk is One God, One World. And it's really interesting because it's all about our perspective. It's all of our life is about our perspective. My daughter, Allie, is in a painting class right now, and she's working on her end of the term project. And it's a big, huge canvas, and she decided what she was going to do was she was going to do an interpretation of a scene in Douglas Adams' book, A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And she chose the scene where, in a random act of manifestation from the limitless potential, a whale and a potted petunias are falling out of the sky. Because if anything can happen, that can. Why not, right? So this gigantic whale and this potted petunias are falling out of the sky, and the whale is being very existential about the whole thing and wondering why he's there and what he's doing and what the meaning of life is and what that sound rushing past his little ears are and why he was born and what was the meaning of life as he's falling to the earth. And the potted petunias are saying, oh shit, not this again. That was in the book. So she's painting this scene of the whale and the potted petunias. Now, the interesting thing was one of her classmates walked past and looked at the painting, at the sketch, the initial sketches, and she said, oh, are you doing the Jonah and the whale from the Bible? No, I'm not. Her classmate is a born-again Christian. All of her paintings, all of her writings, everything that she does relates back to the Bible. This is her narrative. This is her personal cosmology. So much so that when she saw the painting, all she saw was the whale. She totally disregarded the potted plant and asked if it was the Jonah and the whale picture. That is her perspective. It was her perspective. And so the whole entire thing is about our perspective, how we interpret things. I mean, she totally disregarded what was really there, concentrated on what she saw, and then she interpreted from her own personal cosmology. Shakespeare said, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. She only saw from her perspective what she saw in that. Several years ago, National Geographic reported on a study that was done on perspective, and they chose different cultural groups. And they had a group of American students and a group of Chinese students. And what they did was they showed them photographs and paintings, and they measured eye movement of these two groups. And the fascinating thing was, when the American students looked at the painting, they found an object in the painting to focus on and to draw clues from, to understand what was going on in the painting. And when the Chinese students looked at the same paintings, they looked at the object and they looked at the background, and they looked at the object and they looked at the background. They scanned the whole thing back and forth, back and forth. There was a lot more eye movement. And so when they were asking questions of the two groups of students afterward, the American students were really keyed in to the central figure in the painting, to the object, and they could read clues about the meaning of the painting or the feeling of the painting based on how they interpreted maybe the eyes or the mouth or the person's activity as the central focus of the painting. The Chinese students talked about the background in depth. They could talk all about the scenery in great detail, but they didn't really get a feeling from the object in the painting. The American students didn't even realize that the background was there. They couldn't even describe the background. So it's just a cultural thing. Everything is in our perspective. We see first the way we are taught to see. We see first out there what is in our mind first, and we disregard what we're not taught to see. We are a product of our culture and our environment and our family heritage and our past experiences. And so we project that out onto what we're seeing, and we pick and choose from the entire limitless field of view those things that have meaning for us. So it's all about our own personal perspective. It's our culture, it's our heritage, it's our clan, it's our family, and it's our imagination. And thank God we have imagination. I love that we're humans. We have great imaginations. We can imagine all sorts of things. We can imagine anything. It doesn't necessarily happen, but we have it in our minds, and we can imagine it. And I think that's what the Bible was referring to when it says, like, set before you this day both a blessing and a curse, right? Because I think sometimes that's what our imagination is. We can live in a fantasy world where, you know, Prince Charming is coming, where everything is good, where life is all rainbows and puppy dog breath. We can live waiting for that prince or princess to come. We can imagine living the rest of our lives having our every wish fulfilled and never having to pay a bill and having all of our dreams come true all the time. And we can live in that imagination. We can also, likewise, worry about everything. Oh my God, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Everything is terrible. The world's coming to end. Oh, December 21st is coming up. You know, the world's coming to an end. What's wrong now? Oh, great. What else can go wrong? We have terrific imaginations. So we can wish or worry, but they're both fantasies. They're both fantasies. And it's all occurring in our minds. We are such great Imagineers. And Ernest Holmes said this in the 1926 textbook. He said, "At first, the road may be hard and beset with many difficulties. There may be failures and discouragements, but the end is certain." How wonderful is that? We fall only to rise again into a greater realization of life and action, and like the pilgrim of old, to renew the journey. We shall need backbone instead of wishbone. Here, as in all places, it is not in the wishing, but the knowing and the doing that we shall find reward of true merit. It behooves each one of us to make the effort to consciously control the processes of our thought. Consciously control the processes of our thought. What are we thinking? Where do you spend the most time? Are you in wishful fantasizing, in worrying? Where are those predominant thoughts? Someone who wrote Reginald Armour, I think, wrote the book Ernest Holmes the Man, and he quoted Holmes there as saying, in affirmative prayer, which is what we do, affirmative prayer, one needs backbone instead of wishbone. He said it again. Backbone instead of wishbone. We pray knowing, not wishing and hoping for a certain outcome. We are not the people of wishful thinking. We are the people of knowing. It is knowing we can see a condition and still know a greater truth about it. We can observe it. We're not about denying what is happening, but we're knowing that that is simply a condition. It's an outpicturing of a previous thought. It is an outpicturing of a thought of error. And we know that there is a truth greater than that condition. And that's what we do in affirmative prayer. It comes down to our perspective. How are we going to see the world? Our world. Because my world can be vastly different from your world. And it's different because my personal cosmology is different. Because I come from my culture, my family, my background. I have in my mind what I know is true about the world, and that is what continues to outpicture. That's my personal cosmology. You have your beliefs about the world and what is true of it and where your place is in it. And it shapes your experience of life. We will see our own personal cosmology unfold before our eyes because we believe it to be true first, and then we see it all around us. If our personal cosmology is that we are alone in this world, we will feel alone in this world, surrounded by hundreds of people, and we'll still feel alone. If our cosmology is to struggle, and we believe in struggle, we will struggle even in the midst of plenty. We will find something to struggle with. If our personal cosmology is about serving, we will find ways to serve. We will find groups that resonate with us and that we will want to serve. If our personal cosmology is all about love, We'll be a loving person, and we'll be surrounded with people, and we will draw people in who love and who are loving. If our personal cosmology is all about fear, we will find things to be afraid of. We will see things, we will attract things to be afraid of. Just like Allie's classmate. She didn't even see the potted petunias. It didn't fit into her narrative of what she believed is true about life. So she didn't even see them. She only saw the whale. We will refuse to see what lies outside of our personal cosmology, even if it's there. Even if it's there. And then we make up reasons why we don't have or be or are what we think we want. Wayne Dyer said this. He said, loving people live in a loving world. Hostile people live in a hostile world. It's the same world. It's the same world. The best thing that we can do is to create a better sense of self. It's the place where we start. We have to adopt that attitude that the world is for us and not against it, not against us. We have to adopt that attitude that this is a friendly place, that people are good and kind and helpful, that we are safe, that as we journey on this thing called life, our experiences are positive. We have to change the way we look at things. We have to change that personal cosmology. Because if it's one of struggle and strife and limitation and lack, then that is what we will continue to see around us, regardless of the fact that we live in an abundant universe. It's an inside job, and I know that's an old cliche. It is. But it's still true. It may be an inside job, but it's still true. If we're going to change the world around us, the first thing we need to do is change what's inside of us. Louise Hay said, "You've been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." It's true. We've been beating ourselves up for everything that's wrong. Try approving of yourself. That change within has to come first. And then we go out and do the work. Then we go out and make a difference because we see a different world. We become different within. And then what happens is we see a different world. And that inside change sometimes takes time. It takes time to change the world. It takes time to change us. Really, that's all there is. It takes time and attention. Maybe it takes attention and then time. Maybe it takes no time at all. Maybe it takes no time at all. Maybe it just takes attention. That's what our spiritual walk is all about. That's what our spiritual walk is all about. We are spirits surrounded by bodies. How are we showing up in the world? How are we showing up? What is our personal cosmology? Where do you fit? Where do you fit? Are we showing up as intruders on life? Are we apologizing for being here? Oh, excuse me, pardon me. I didn't mean to, Don't apologize for being alive. You're here, you're a necessary part of this huge tapestry. That individualized expression of spirit known as you is necessary to the entire thing. Without you, we would be less. Are we worrying about how circumstances are going to just deny us a wonderful, fulfilling, happy life? Are we concerned with what's going on that's wrong in the world? How everything is terrible and horrible? We're so concerned about all the worst things because then that's your personal cosmology. Oh my God, the world sucks and then we're going to die. On a grand scale, we are being fed a pack of lies. You look at the news and you can hear it. It's crime. It's a series of bad and unfortunate things happening. It's awful predictions. It's bad news. It's end of the world scenarios. It's crime. It's war. It's lack and limitation. You name it. That's what we are given a steady diet of. So all around you, that's what you hear. How do you stand in opposition to that? Because that's our narrative right now. That's what we see because that is our narrative right now. That's what we believe in. Crazy talk show hosts who say hateful things and women who write books, that hate everybody, and all of that stuff right now that people are listening to and people are buying into. And then there's us, because we know better. However, we keep glancing over there, don't we? We keep looking over there and going, oh my God, look at how terrible that is. Oh, do you believe he said that? I can't believe he said that on the radio. Do you know what? That's the worst thing in the world. We keep glancing over there. We keep glancing over there. We keep glancing over there. So what are we doing? We're still in that narrative. We're still in that narrative. We're still promoting it, even if it's what we hate or disdain or disagree with. We can't stop looking at it like a train wreck. We are still promoting it. And so what I'm suggesting is that we shift our gaze and we look upon what we desire and we manifest what we desire and we keep reminding ourselves of the good things, of the wonderful things. We stop bashing what we hate or what we disagree with, because that's where our energy is flowing. And instead, we consider promoting what we love. And we consider lending our energy in that direction, to the stuff that we love. Our job is not to promote what we hate. Our job is to shift our gaze and lift our gaze and look upon what we would have. Promote what we love. And when we change that, we change the narrative. There's a little video that I'm going to play right in a minute, and it's about those security cameras that are everywhere. They say if you walk out of your house, you're on film like 8 or 9 or 10 times a day. No matter where you go, you're being filmed. Those same security cameras that see the crime and can identify the thief, they always have those in Law and Order, and can observe the criminal, they also pick up these acts of kindness that go on all the time. And I just want you to see this. Random acts of kindness. Why isn't that on the news every night? It shows the other side of this thing. That steady diet of stuff that we keep getting, of war and hate and limitless and stuff like that, this is just as true about us, that we're basically good people. You see that and we remember, hey, we're not a bad bunch. We're a pretty good bunch of humans. We're kind people. We're loving people. We're helpful people. And if we dropped or never knew anyone's religion or nationality or political affiliation, well, that one was up the last couple of weeks, right? Religious affiliations or clans or nationalities, if we just dropped all of that and just saw people as people, we would just love people as people. There would be No, none of that artificial separation, none of that illusion of separation. And I think that's what Jesus meant when he said, verily I say unto you, except that ye be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. It's about being as little children. Little children little children see the differences in people. They see the differences in skin color. They see the differences in body shape or type or whatever. It just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. That's all. It just doesn't matter. Children have to be taught that it matters. They have to be taught that it matters. And so we just need to stop teaching that. And what we need to do is teach oneness instead, because that is the truth of who we are. And I'm not saying that, like some people say, we get to the point where we see no differences. I think that'd be boring. I don't want to just see us as one big blob of humanity. I love the differences. The differences are something to be celebrated. We are unique, individualized expressions of spirit for a reason. We don't all look alike and sound alike and are the same shape and size and everything because of the fact that we are unique, individualized expression, each and every one of us different from the other. I think that we get to the point where we see and celebrate the differences. We see and celebrate the differences. They don't make a difference. It doesn't matter. Core concept 1 is God is all there is. Core concept 1 is God is all there is. We are already one. We just need to drop the illusion of separation and know that when I see you, I see God in form. When I see you, I see God in form. So we can see our differences, we can celebrate our differences, and still know that behind the uniqueness lies all of the power and presence of God. And that is true of each one of us. There is just one life. It is God's life. It is out picturing as you and as me and as everyone. There is one world. There is one life. There is one God. And when you look in the mirror tonight when you go home, remember that. Remember when you look in the mirror, you are seeing the eyes of God looking back at you. And honor that and respect that and love that. Love that. And when you change the narrative, when you change the inside, when you change from the criticizing to the loving, then you see a loving world. You see a loving world, and then everything changes. Thank you so much.